Well, caring connection, touchy-feely stuff that most organizations don't want to mess around with. We act as if love has no place in our organizations, or we certainly don't want to talk about it. I'm sarcastic here because I think there's an element of truth in it. We want love in our families. Families don't work without it. We want love in our marriages. Marriages don't work without it. Somehow we think our teams and our organizations, and yet, Bill, you can speak to it, but you've had a lot of experience with sports teams, and they love each other. The winners, the ones that really go all the way, they talk about it, and it's cultivated actively. I'll start with an example here. Bill, you're as good at this as anybody I know. And obviously we all have our reactive side where we don't show up the way we might want to, but you have consistently shown up for me with this caring connection. Even in difficult conversations, and I don't want to get into the content of it, but when we were negotiating the sale of the leadership circle into our partnership, well, I was behaving the antithesis of everything we talked about in courageous authenticity. I was pretty aggressive and defensive and so on. And the conversation wasn't going that well. And one Saturday morning, you and I were going to talk about it. And I knew this was kind of like, we either work through this or we're probably not going to work through this, because that was the feeling. And Bill came in and said, Bob, after we said hello and everything, he said, I've been thinking about this, and this has to be really hard for you. And I go, well, yeah, it is. But what do you mean, Bill? He says, well, in a partnership, which we're in, you're selling the business into the partnership. So in a partnership, our job is to watch each other's backs and really support each other. And in this case, you're trying to sell into the partnership, which means you're both a partner and you have to watch your own back. And that's got to be really hard. And I was like, I just melted. I was like, oh, I feel seen. This has been hard. I didn't even realize the complexity that Bill was seeing. I went, oh, that's so helpful. And then we just had a really open conversation about what we both needed to move this forward. And boom, we walked out of there agreed. And you could say that was a really brilliant technique that Bill used at some level. I didn't experience it that way. I experienced it with full heart. Like, I care about my brother here. And let's set all the money issues aside for a minute. And I felt him caring about me, and I felt in deep connection. And we were in the midst of a conflict. And as soon as that got named and that became the field of our interaction, this caring connection and the love we have for each other, we broke through quickly on the other issues. So I just really honor how you have showed up for me in many, many situations, and it feels like I'm in a warm bath of love and connection, even though we might be agreeing or not agreeing at the time.
Mm. I really appreciate the uh, acknowledgement, Bob. Thank you. Um, and at the end of the day, for me, if we're not in that relationship with each other, uh, and we can't put ourselves in the position of truly caring for anyone and or the other. I mean, I had this uh, lady that I was working with. We were working with as a leadership team a few years ago during some really difficult times in the country here in the U.S., et cetera. And we were working it. And she asked me a question on, what do you want to turn away from? And what are those things that you want to turn away from? And went into a um, real introspection on what that was for me. And at the heart of that was I was removing care and connection. So the minute I turn away, then uh, who it is that I think we need to be with each other is the one that cares for the other. And what that really means, geez, I didn't expect that. Um, Regardless of where it is or what it is, I don't know why else we'd be on Earth together. And so, at the heart of this thing called caring connection, and Bob, you express it so well, is that seriously, I love people. There's a few I don't like very much, but I love people. I mean, I just am grateful for being in relationship and being as much as solitude is important to me. Grateful for that, and a significant portion of that is extending myself or extending self on behalf of the other without any expectation in return. That's caring connection. I just want to make sure that uh, when I go out of this life, that those that I come in contact with and those that I've been able to actually pass along the way um, experience that. And so as you play that out in an organization and in a business and the way it shows up, uh, there is the other side of this for me and for many. When you're high arrogant and high critical, thank the good Lord for caring connection was the only thing that made me palpable. So Bob knows this story really well. I had an early mentor, colleague by the name of Tyler Nelson. Tyler's 90. Haven't been in contact with her in a long time. We worked together forever. She was the first organizational behaviorist woman in the U.S. military and played it out in the U.S. Army. And think about that going in at that time as an organizational behaviorist and psychologist, and she was really something. And you always knew when Tyler was seeing something, and she was a great teacher for me. We were on the way home from a couple of days of work together, and I was giving her right back to her apartment. And we pulled up to her apartment parking lot, and she said, "Hey, Bill, got some feedback for you." She didn't ask me if I wanted to hear it. And she got out of the car, walked over to the window, and she looked at me and she said, dealing with you is like a slap and a rose. I would prefer the rose more than the slap. Caring connection is the way that we reach out to those around us and know that they are loved, know that they are cared for, and know that they are seen. And if that's not important for a leader with their people, leader with their organizations, the organizations are part of the systems they're in, I don't know what else is. I don't know what else is. And we have that conversation around courageous authenticity and the other dimension. All of these go so hand in hand. If you're going to be courageously authentic with me, as one of my football coaches says, until I know that you care about me, that you actually care for me, all of that's going to fall elsewhere. And it is the difference maker. And, Bob was talking about having an experience of working with a lot of sports teams and here in the U.S. Collegiate Athletics. And one of my coaches, head coach, tells his teams, he says, we know what our jobs are as coaches. And he explains that he said, your job is to love each other, is to care for one another. And if you're not there, learn how to get there now. Because otherwise, we don't come together. We don't win. We don't have the team we want to have. But it has to be that you actually do care. Because if it's insincere, it doesn't mean anything. And wow, I'm blown away at how that plays out. This is on the football field. Are you kidding me? This is when you're giving someone feedback that you missed that play entirely. You did not get the technique right. You didn't run the route right. You actually took out the play, kept us from scoring. Wow, I care about you. You're my brother. I love you. Let's go back to work. There's a difference in that. There's a difference in the way that plays out. And the wonderful part about athletic sports teams, especially teams that have to work together for accomplishment, individual oriented sports are very, very different in that way, but it can be accomplished is you get automatic feedback, immediate in effective sports teams. And if it's coming off of just high critical and it's personal, it's not coming from the courageous authenticity with an understanding of caring connection. This individual cares for me. He actually cares about me. Then the entire context of the way that we learn together changes and it becomes punishing. Doesn't mean to be, doesn't need to be. This shifts that. It actually is growth oriented. It's a difference between a fixed mindset and a growth mindset, or the reactive and the creative. And they both get results. The creative, the growth mindset, better results, less energetic cost. And what an incredible thing it is to know you're cared for. I had this conversation last night with my oldest son. I got a text. You know, when you get one of those texts at the end of the day and you go, oh boy, is going through some hard stuff in this situation. It's not knowing what to do with one of his children's having really hard time. And I know that the only way that I was able to be of any value to him last night in one of the most difficult times he was going through and he was hopeless. Uh, Almost the resignation is knowing that he was cared for. Net, 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 net. And I hung up, and I'm feeling it right now. I was grateful beyond belief that capacity exists in us as human beings. And when expressed and experienced, it's again one of those things that changes everything. Yeah, that's and that all comes because of a mother that you gotta learn how to care for each other. I've preached of that in a really big way, but man, what a difference in a leadership team when people know they're cared about and for.
I was this dimension got really refined and clarified in my years at the Barbara Brennan School. And I could have just put caring there, but there's a deeper level of caring that points to a more integral way of being in relationship, and it's deep connection. It's Barbara said this was a 4-year intensive, it's like a PhD in energy work and healing, and we're now incorporating some of that into the Unity Academy and opening up real access to intuition and so on, and deeper shadow work and healing work. And Barbara said, we're going to spend 4 years teaching you healing technique. And that's 10% of healing. The 90% is undefended self, undefended presence, deep connection. That's what heals. That's what makes things whole.
Mm. Mm.
And
Mm.
and so when I come out of that, and I'm actually in one of my very first debriefs with the Leadership Circle profile. So this was a few years later. I created the profile after the school, and I deliberately carrying connection. And then we were at Notre Dame, and there was a particular physician administrator who I was going to be debriefing, and this was a big client for Notre Dame. And he was top of the pyramid in this large healthcare system. And it was like, this is really important. It needs to go well. You need to really knock this one out of the park. That's what they were telling me. And I'm going to do what I always do, which is show up in connection and play like I have nothing to gain or lose. That's because if I'm in there trying to make this go well, I'm dead. So I get in there, and this man starts screaming at me, right? We hadn't even said hello. He starts screaming at me, and he shoves the profile results, and he's like, you have no idea. You have no idea who I am. And, da, 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 da. And he goes through all of his credentials and so on and so on. And this goes on for about 10 minutes. And I didn't have a clue what to respond with. I didn't know what to do. All I knew was that if I break a connection with this man, it's game over. So while he was yelling at me and ranting, I maintained eye contact, and to the extent that I was able, just was present and held my heart open to loving this man and all this anger. And I listened. And when he was done, I didn't have anything to say. But in that connection, I sat for a minute in quiet. In comes something to say. This is the intuitive access. And I went, oh, inside I went, I can't say that. But I got, say it. And I said, you know what I get from all that? You're a very angry man. And he glared at me and I thought, game over. But I stayed in this connection. And he went, yeah, and fatigued too. I went, yeah, I can feel your tiredness. You're exhausted. And then we had an extraordinary conversation. So, had I not, you can't say things like that if you're not in connection, if they don't feel you caring about them. And then you can say a lot of things that are difficult for people to hear because it's said um, in the way that we talked about courageous authenticity. It's truth with heart. So, this connection piece, it's our deepest, it's a superpower in a sense, and it's our deepest fear. It's our deepest longing. We all want it. I mean, the child comes in and all they want is connection. I got a grandson, uh, and he just wants connection. That's all he wants. And you use different ways of doing that. We play, we laugh, we toss each other around, all that. But what he wants is this heart connection with Papa. And of course, he loves his grandma. So um, it's our deepest longing and our deepest fear that if I really become undefended, I fear that people will see the real me and they'll say, well, not enough. And those are old wounds. But when we can learn to open and be transparent and really be present in our meetings, in our strategy meetings, in our feedback meetings, in our difficult, courageous conversations, that's what makes all of that work at a much higher level. And without it,
Bob,
it's
go
pretty
ahead.
stupid. I want to just say one more thing, Bill. It's like I don't remember who said it, but you and I heard this presentation at a conference we were at together. This guy said, you know, I recently married off my daughter, and I'm walking her down the aisle, and I'm about to hand her over to someone else. This is kind of the masculine version of this, but in any event, there is this ritual of handing over, right? And what I'm really handing over is your mother and I have spent our entire lives pouring the very best of ourselves in love to this young woman. And now I'm entrusting you with her care. You're primary now, we're secondary. And we do that in a wedding. And why wouldn't we want the same thing as we turn our children over to work in an organization? I've spent the best of my life, and here's my young son or daughter, uh, our young son or daughter, walking in the doors of your organization. I entrust you now with their care. Peter Block once talked to a CEO and he said, you know, I spent my whole life climbing and I've left in my wake an organization I don't want my children to work in. So this is again fundamental ground. Top half is based on love, bottom half based on fear. Do we love more than we fear? This dimension goes directly at, can you get more transparent with one another and presence, love, and connection?
You know, the humanness in the way that we're describing and giving examples, personal and otherwise. This is, in many ways, most well understood by me when it doesn't exist and the contrast there. And what that means, where it's been withheld or where it's never been affirmed, and all of those elements, and what that ends up causing for those individuals. And I also, from a leadership standpoint, the opportunity, the need for to be in connection with those that you have responsibility to and for, and care about them. It's not the patriarch. That's not what I'm talking about, and all the negative terms about that. I'm actually talking human connection and caring, and what it means to be cared for. It plays at the very heart of. I over and over and over again experienced some of the very best leaders that I've ever had the privilege of working with, coaching, being in a relationship, being part of their organizations. Very, very, very best. And the ones that really got it was, wow, their greatest joy was being in service to those that were in their organization. They found their greatest joy to what it meant to be in service of. And a significant portion of that and the way it plays out is what we're talking about here on caring and connection. And I never, ever, ever will forget this. I can see it. I can see it in my mind's eye now. I can see it happened when it happened, where it was 25 years ago. Was working in Detroit, Michigan, hardcore Detroit. Detroit was hardcore. 25 years ago, downtown, they called it a donut because it was the only safe zone. It was hardcore. Wow. And then we were working in the Guardian building at Michigan Consolidated Gas Company. These are the folks that make sure that the heat stays on and the food gets cooked and on and on and on in a really, really rough environment. It was tough. And there was a meeting going on in the boardroom, a board meeting. And this place was ostentatious. Holy man, are you kidding me? It had all the mahogany and all the wood and everything you would expect. And, the bastions of, the top echelon of a business and a corporation in the Guardian building in downtown Detroit. It was lunch. And in came the servers, and they were setting up and bringing the food to the board members. The CEO was there as a member of the board, and the chair was there, and all of what goes with that. So here comes this service person that's waiting on them. He's all about service, and he's walking across the plush carpet to the big table, big long table. And he's carrying condiments, like 4 bowls of them. And he slips. And out of his hand goes all the condiments, mustard, ketchup, mayonnaise. I mean, all of them, all the way across the plush carpet, all the way across the plush carpet. And there was just a palpable, up jumps Steve Ewing, the president and COO, and walks across, gets down on his knees, and said, "Let me help you." Starts cleaning up the ketchup, cleaning up the mustard and mayonnaise and pointing out. And looks across, he said, "Oh man, boy, do I understand this one." I went through college waiting tables, and I had at least 3 of these, and it is the worst possible thing that could ever happen. You know what? It's nothing. Don't even worry about it. I don't want you to worry about it for a second. Are you kidding me? We're lucky to have you here today. Thank you for being here. This stuff happens. It doesn't define you. It doesn't mean anything about you. Yeah, guess what? You tripped. You spilled stuff all over. Yeah, you're human. Wow, are we lucky to have you. And I'm going, okay, there's an example of caring connection. He's literally on his knees right there with the guy. He's got ketchup and mustard on his hands. He's down on the floor. He's cleaning up the freaking mess. Nobody else is even able to get in there, and looking at this guy and saying, get it? It's embarrassing. It's totally the opposite thing that anyone would ever want to do, obviously. And it means nothing. It's just part of being human. Are you kidding me? So leadership gets defined in moments when on the practice field, who you are is that individual. And that's what shows up in people feel seen, cared for, and connected with. And Bob couldn't have described that better. And that's who I want responsible in the organizations for my kids. You know, we all get the chance to be human and recognize and care for others that are also human and connect in a way that it actually can shift what happens to someone on any given day from that to this. Get that chance every day, multiple times. Now, there's something worth spending your life's blood as a leader for. I remember him. I'm going to remember her. That's a moment that literally changed the very course of what was going on with me that day. And it was because of a reach out, because of a pat on the back, because of love, because of caring connection, because of concern, because of interest on your best interest and on your behalf, an extension of. There you go. Let's get more human.
One of the conditions that we outlined in scaling leadership for what are some of the conditions that are required in order for transformation to take place. One of them was radically human. That the leaders that we've worked with that lead a successful organizational transformation, where the organization has really significantly improved its capacity to create its future in the midst of complex times. One of the conditions we see is radical humanity. There is an undefendedness and a transparency, and we outline the steps that it takes to transform an organization, and it starts with me. It starts with, oh, okay, I have a lot to learn here. Bill says, I make myself my own project. And so the leaders we've seen that have been successful at leading a transformation start with themselves, talk about what they need to learn in order to show up more effectively as a leader, invite feedback. It's a radically human process. The defenses drop. It's done genuinely from the heart. And that establishes a field of connection and a safety. And then the invitation gets extended to have the entire team be on that journey together. And they do their 360s, they get their feedback, and now they're supporting each other and being more individually effective and more collectively effective together, the way they show up together to lead the organization. And that process of learning out loud together is a vulnerable process. And it doesn't happen without connection. It doesn't happen without I care about you and you know it. You can feel that I care about you. And I've got some things that I need to say to you about how you can be more effective. So this is a condition, both the radical humanity and the caring is a condition for the kind of transformation that our work is all about and that leaders take on when they say, let's change the culture. And they really get that that can't happen unless we transform, and that's a vulnerable process. And caring and connection is baseline for that process to proceed. And then, of course, that gets extended into the organization and it gets more systematized, and then the whole organization begins to operate that way. And so, caring connection is a fundamental principle of and condition for the kind of transformation that we are trying to make happen as leaders and coaches and consultants.